Welcome to Prime Childcare Software Training. Today we will be going over creating forms in Prime. To create a form, you'll need to go to the Admissions module, Form Designer. You'll see a list of forms you already have in your system. Create a form, click the plus sign. That creates a form at the bottom of your list. The system defaults it as an admission form, but you can also do a scan form, which allows you to upload a digital file, and that allows the user to click the link to either view or download or print the form out. And you can also use information forms just to disseminate information out to parents. We're going to be going over the admission form. If you check signature required, that will put a section at the bottom of your online form which forces the user to enter their name, their email address, and to check a box saying that they're digitally signing the form. And all that has to be done prior to the form being submitted. You can also change the font and the font size to your form, all the text on your form. Save saves the form details information to your form. Link allows you to copy the specific URL to this particular form. This URL never changes, so you can copy this and create a hyperlink in your social media or on your website, and you never have to go and update the link itself. You can also export and import forms between Prime sites. You can print your form, and then you can also do a data export, which allows you to pull examples of that particular form, filled out examples of that form. To add fields to our form, we're going to go over to Table. We're going to choose the module and tab that we want to add fields from. So we'll start with the Student Personal tab. And I'm going to go ahead and add the student's first name, their last name, and their birthday. And it's just that easy. Click the field you want to add and it adds it. Something to note, when you're adding student fields, you can only use one instance of particular fields like the name, the date of birth. You can do multiple instances of things like allergies and medications and dietary restrictions. You can only do one instance of user-defined fields and the other fields. Once you've added your fields to the form, you can click and drag them around to wherever you want them. If you want to have a more finer movement when you're dragging that field, you can change the snap interval. So if I do it down to like 5, it moves 5 fields every time, 5 spaces every time I move it. So it gives me a little bit more refined movement, and I can take it all the way down to 1, so it's moving 1 pixel at a time. For this field, if I want to change the name of this field that shows up in the label, I can do that in the label. I can also use the X position and Y position fields to move this field around. If I check required, then that requires that that field be filled out prior to the form being submitted. And then one thing to note, in the entity, this tells you who this field belongs to, whether it's a student, a sponsor, and you'll want to pay close attention to that when you're adding in sponsor fields, because sponsor first name is just sponsor first name. And I can add 5 sponsor first names on the form, but if I don't distinguish between which ones those are, I'll see the first one sponsor 0, the second one will be sponsor 1. And so just pay attention to that, so when you're moving around your fields, you can see these are all to one student. And something to note for admission forms is you can only have 1 student per form. So if the parent has 2 students, they need to fill out 2 separate forms. The form can have many instances of sponsors, but only one instance of students. Now those are map fields, so these fields have a corresponding field in the database. So once these are filled out and this form is filed, then it will save those into the database. For other fields that we don't have map fields for, or something that you just want to collect information on but we don't have a field for, let's say like t-shirt size and shoe size. We don't have fields in form for t-shirt size and shoe size. But if I want to add those, I can add a generic field which can then be filled out. So I can add a generic checkbox, I can do a combo box, and with the combo box I can put whatever choices I want, just separate them by a comma. I can add a date field. I can add a label, so labels are nice. You can use those as kind of like section headers. So if I want to know that this is the student section, then I can do that. They're also really good for long text paragraphs where it's just information on the form, but it's not necessarily associated with a field. I can add a text field. So again, if I want to do like t-shirt size and shoe size are probably more like combo boxes where you can just choose it, but you could also do it here as just a free field, and then they can just freeform put in whatever value they want. You can add a time field. So if you want to add a generic time field, you can put that in there. And then also you can click on clear form, and this will actually clear all the fields on the form. So be careful with clicking that, but you can. Once you've got your form, I would say probably once you've done 4 or 5 fields on your form, go ahead and save it. Then what you can do is take that link, copy it, and then go to that link and actually look to see what your form looks like online. So I can see, okay, my form's a little jumbled, I need to move some things around, so I need to go ahead and do that. So then I can go back to my form, make any more changes I want to, and then hit save. And that is adding a form into Prime.